What's up, guys? It's me, Zeb, here on Zeb's Corner, and I know it's been quite some time since I've been able to do anything on this particular thing. I won't even get into my excuses and reasons, but I'm here. So let's take it for what it is, right? Forgive me. Anyway, I have a tip, and I think you guys will love it. It's trying to actually mimic an Auratone speaker. If you don't have one, what can you do? So for those who do not know what an Auratone speaker is, it's a small little cube box that only gives you mid-range. It gives you nothing else. It doesn't really give you a sort of bunch of highs. It doesn't definitely not give you any bottoms at all. It's just to focus within the mid-range of your mix. And why is the mid-range area so important? Well, because a lot of the activity happens in the mid-range. A few people have definitely used the Auratone mono speaker. You could use one, you could use two. And a few people I've known have done it before, but until I actually had a chance to really see it in practice. And a good friend of mine in Austin named Micah, he uses the Auratone speakers as well as he does the Trick if you don't have the Auratone speakers, and why this is helpful. And once I've actually came upon this trick and advice, once again, I started to apply it ever since then. And I think a lot of you people who do so or who get this trick will do so as well. How do you use it and why is it important? Again, the mid-range is where a lot of the information sits. If it's too high, it's just too much. If it's too low, it's too muddy. My whole focus as an engineer was always focused on the drums. I would be very honest to say I've always been a little bit biased to drums, and I always want that kick to be pronounced. Now, of course, I focused on vocals and other things and instruments as well, but whenever I would get a project that was very drum intensive, my main two things would be the kick, the snare, and then everything else in addition. Of course, the vocals. I will not sit there and make it drum intensive and you can't hear anybody. Balance is key. So, but the way to get the balance is pay attention to the mid-range. The mid-range area is where the sweet stuff really lives. And we don't really tend to think about that. Sometimes we want some more of that highs to give more of a semblance of clarity. And sometimes we may boost that too much and then it starts to bite. And then sometimes we may take away some of that highs. And then again, of course, too low, too muddy, not enough pronunciation where those pieces of information should fit. So without wasting time, I'm going to show you how I use the trick, the EQ tip trick. It's simple, it's basic. I'm sure you guys have seen it before. If you haven't, watch it from this point on, and I think you guys will get a good idea of what is going on. Okay, so here we are with a session that I've done, and this is kind of old, but I did this a while ago, and I had some friends jump in on it, and Al did the bass part over because I did it on a keyboard, and he just redid it for me. Thank you, Al. And I've been meaning to release this stuff and I just never got around to it, but eventually I'll get to it. So this is a small instrumental track and no vocals, but I did this, like I said, a couple of years ago. And with this tip, I realized that there's certain things that I did not focus on when I was mixing it. I think when I was mixing it, I was concerned about the low end information. Al's bass, my drums, everything else was just pretty little fillers on top. So now that I'm listening to it again, I find that there's certain things that I should have focused on that now I'm starting to hear. And thanks to the Auratone tip trick, it's very helpful. I will be getting a pair of my own Auratones eventually because I'm gonna reface this whole section, get a desk that will be suitable for those Auratones. But in the meantime, this trick will definitely help me out a great deal. So let's just take a listen quickly to the drums. I'm going to take it from this orange part here into this yellow part of it. And this is without the EQ trick on, and it's just naked as is. Let's take a listen. so you guys get to hear it. It sounds like that. Now, what is the trick, or what am I hearing first? The first thing I'm hearing is the drums had a little bit too much boom at the bottom of it. So now I want to reduce that boom. And before I go reducing it, I'm going to put this back to what it was. Oops. And it was at something like that. So Al sounds fine to me because I could hear him even through these beat up headphones. So this is what the EQ of choice that I'm using. I put it on my master fader, and it's bypassed for now, but this is what it looks like when it's active. Any EQ would do because you're using EQs that have the high pass and low pass filter. And once I activate it, I simply put it around here and around this 5K mark because we want only the mid-range information to give us what we're looking for. We want to hear that area. We don't want to hear anything else. We don't want to hear too much of the highs. We definitely don't want to hear too much of the lows. So this is what it sounds like active. So I think you guys get the idea, right? Once you have the mid-range area activated, right, you could hear everything, or at least that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to hear everything because you're looking to see how much of the information is actually passing through the mid-range area. Is the low end coming through? Is the high end coming through? Is all that pretty stuff coming through? Meaning all those other instruments that you need to hear. I hear everything. I think that's the key that we want to hear. We want to be able to hear a lot of that mid-range information pass through. So that's what I'm actually hearing. Let's take a listen again just so you can catch it. And by the way, a good set of headphones and or monitors will definitely help in this little tutorial. I hear all that chicken scratch on the guitar. I hear the bass. I hear the kick. I hear everything. I hear everything. And I think you want to really make sure you hear everything because this is the stuff that gets translated somewhat in devices that don't have low end information, such as earbuds, AirPods, phones, laptops, certain small computer laptop speakers, computer speakers, whatever. Smaller speakers don't always give you a lot of information coming through. So you want whatever information you need to cut through it, you want to be able to hear that. And that's what I'm doing here. When I want to hear something particular and I want to make sure it's passing through, I could solo that particular track and make sure that that sound in the mid-range is what I need it to be. If not, I'll just cut it down, boost it up, whatever the case is. So I hear the kick and everything because, again, to me, that was my main issue where I thought the kick was a little too muddy or too boomy, rather. And I still think it's too boomy. So what I want to do is go back here. So minute, but, so minute, but subtle moves make huge differences. Let's go back. I hear a fraction of a difference, but let's hear that drums by itself with the bypass. I still hear the boom. I don't hear the boom, but I definitely hear the kick. So this will give me an idea of what the drums will sound like on a set of cheesy earbuds or a small iPhone or something or another. Of course, these phones have gotten better, so some things do cut through some more, but that's what you want it to cut through mostly. People don't have sophisticated sound systems in their house like they used to, so a lot of people are mobile and they're listening to a lot of these things on mobile devices. Yes, people are using things as Beats by Dre, anything with Bose and low end information. So we know that those things are going to actually be heard, but a lot of people do not have those. So we have to consider those who don't. Now, this is not mastered, and a master will definitely make a difference later on. Anyway, this mid-range information is what you have to focus on because, again, is where a lot of the pretty stuff actually happens, or like they said, is where the magic happens. And we want it to really be heard and pronounced. And once that's heard, pronounced, and received, you'll be able to actually look at your mixes a slightly different way. Once you understand what happens in that area, you don't mix for that area alone, but you definitely do focus on it. Sometimes speakers with a lot of bottom don't give you that information, and this tip with the EQ will definitely allow you to hear it there. If not, you definitely could get a pair of Auratones or any kind of small cube speaker, and you'll definitely be able to toggle between your monitors that have the low end and the Auratones that do not, right? And that way you can definitely hear what's happening in that area, because that area is where a lot of things happen. I could go on and on and on and on about it, but I think you guys get the idea. So apply it. Dang it.